Hello, welcome to class. Please come on in, file in, have a seat. Welcome. Today is your first day, and we are in Simp school. Yes, very, very important. I am glad you all signed up for this course and signed up for this, this class. I think I've been advocating for this class for a very, very long time. And I feel like it's an incredibly important part of society that I think we just don't discuss often enough. I'm seeing a certain demographic here, but I do see some strays coming in. Yes. McLaley, is that you? Yes. Hello, McLaley. Yes. And Grimplesnort, is that you over there? Hi. Yeah, I had you. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So let's go ahead. I don't want to really wait for too long. People who are late. Oh, you know what I say. If you are 5 minutes late, then you just shouldn't show up anyway. But if I'm 5 minutes late, then everybody should be waiting and doing homework in some capacity while you wait for me, because you must extend that sort of patience towards me, but I don't have to extend that patience towards you. Okay. Well. For today, this is the first day of class here at Simp School, so we are going to take it a little bit slow. It's really, we're just going to go over the syllabus. We're going to go over, just the 1, 2, 3s, the Simp 1, 2, 3s. It's very, very important. We are, of course, going to talk about, some of the topics that we're going to discuss over the semester. Something like, like the propaganda that is against Simps. Yes, the propaganda against Simps. It's very dangerous. It could lead to a death somewhere in the world, but, so we have to stop that. There's also, we're going to talk about something that I like to bring up. This is, of course, the sort of like grand opening of this course, but I think something that will be nice to talk about if we have time. Of course, if we don't necessarily have to have time, but some Simp hobbies might be very good to talk about, mainly because it can be very difficult for a Simp to figure out what their hobbies are. And I'm seeing, even though I see a certain demographic here, Simps are for everybody. Simps are everybody, right? You don't have to be a particular gender, a particular sex, a particular orientation, or what have you, to be a Simp, right? A Simp is all encompassing. All hail the Simp, right? So let's go ahead and get started. I do want to talk about attendance. So attendance is, of course, mandatory. We don't play around in this course. If you have been here for any amount of time, you'll know that, some people will be pretty lenient with their attendance sort of rules. I, on the other hand, say that if you miss one class, then you're not really, you're not in that Simp mindset. And if you don't want to be in that Simp mindset, then I don't see why that you're here. So it is going to be, of course, an automatic failure if you miss a course. The only acceptable options for you to miss a course is if you are simping for someone, then, there is a little bit of leniency. Simping for someone does, of course, come before all, including this course. And if you've got it down bad, then that is, you'd have to make that determination yourself, whether that is considered simping or not. Okay. So I'll leave that to you. Of course, my email, you can send me an email, shoot me an email at any time, day or night. I will not respond and I probably won't see it. But you will have reached out to me and I will not have appreciated it. Next, now that we have talked about attendance, I did want to write down just, see who is actually here, because this is, it's an automatic failure for anybody who didn't show up to the first day of class, right? So we did say, McLaley, you're here. And Grimplesnort, I did see you over there. Is there Hassan? Yes. Okay, and then is there a Leandra? Leandra? Okay. What about Lean? All right. What about Pooplesnort? Okay, yeah, You're right over there. Okay. And what about, this is the last name here. Chlamydia. Is chlamydia here? Chlamydia? Oh, there you are. Okay. I see. Okay, well, that's a pretty decent, for the first time. I think that's pretty good, pretty decent, I would say. Let's talk about the credit. Well, let's talk about the credit hours first, okay? So in terms of the credit hours, this is, of course, a three credit hours for this course. We do meet 3 times a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. This is, of course, the 8 a.m. section. I am pushing for a 6 a.m., mainly because I think that that's a really untapped time within a student's life. They're probably sleeping and they should be able to get up around that time. When I was young, I was forced to get up at an ungodly hours, and, I want to inflict that pain upon others. So I think it's pretty important. Now, just because the credit hours are 3 does not necessarily mean that I only expect you to work 3 hours after class. That is not going to do. To be a simp, you have to do more, okay? Because simping is a full-time job, right? What is a sugar baby if not a simp? What is a sugar daddy if not a simp? And these are just, I'm just talking about professions here, right? Like, think about the kinds of simps that exist within this world and where that might apply, right? So we need to broaden our horizons and broaden the horizon of the thought process that 3 credit hours means that you only work 3 hours outside of class. I expect you to work on this maybe about 2 to 3 hours a day. And weekends, you can go a little bit more on the weekends. It'll definitely put you ahead. I don't expect you to go, that hard on the weekends. I know you guys you are young, you're in college, you're having a good time, it's simp school. So, like, I understand there's going to be drinking, there's going to be drugs, there's going to be, what have you. Will I partake? Possibly. But the main thing is what I expect from you. So, any questions about the credit hours? You thought this was an easy course? No. This is not an easy course. You perhaps heard of a simp before, but this is not that kind of simp. This is not the simp that slacks off, and this is not the simp that waits for things to fall into their lap, okay? Simps are hard workers, That's why I think I've interviewed many people, and I have asked, one of the main questions I ask is, so would you describe yourself as a simp? Depending on how they answer, they get the job right away. So, okay, so let's talk about projects. So we're going to, of course, have weekly tests. It's, don't worry too much about it. I don't expect you to know everything. If you do get below an 80%, that will be an automatic failure. We don't tolerate simp failures here. I think that if you want to be a simp, you have to be a simp. And so, that's, testing lower than 80% just means that you're not serious, and we're going to have a very tough conversation. That is just the weekly test. We are, of course, going to have the midterm. The midterm is going to count for 15% of your grade, right? So attendance doesn't count for any of your grade. It just counts for not failing. Midterms is 15%. The weekly tests will be another 15%. And then the last 70% will be the final project. As you can probably tell, the final project is very important. And why is the final project important? That is because what is a simp if not tied to their object of affection, right? And of course, it's an object of affection because a simp does not view the person that they're the thing of their affection as a person, right? So this final project is going to be your object of affection. Is going to be something that you are going to have to present to the whole class. You're going to have to tell us in no uncertain terms with objective facts why you're simping for them, right? Of course, I am going to make you do this in groups of 4. Um, the reason is just some healthy competition. I think that there is just not enough competition within schools, and I really want to make sure that anybody that has social anxiety really struggles in this class. Because if you're a simp, you can't have social anxiety. It just doesn't work that way. So just letting you know. Of course, if you have generalized anxiety or anxiety that is more intense than perhaps social anxiety, or if your social anxiety is really bad, you can come and email me and talk to me. I won't listen, but that is something that you can feel free to do. Okay, so that is that in terms of the final project. Does anybody want to ask any questions about that? When are the groups formed? Well, the groups have been pre-formed by me. As you came in, I tried to find the people that were the most uncomfortable with each other as I'm watching you, and I am putting you guys together because I want to make sure that you have you're pushed out of your boundary. You're having new experiences, and you're learning how to work with people that you might not like, right? You might be, like a queer simp, but the other one might be a horrible Nazi, and you have to learn how to work together, yeah. Because if you don't know how to work together, then what is this class about? So we're just going to go ahead and do some of the Simp 1, 2, 3s, things that we're going to go over in the rest of the course, but just getting a little bit of a head start. Nobody likes coming into the first day of class and just doing the syllabus. People think that that is terrible, and I'm sure that you are just so excited to learn, right? So let's just go ahead and do, in terms of the Simp 1, 2, 3s, what is a simp, right? Like, we're just going to talk about it plainly. A simp is loving. A simp is absolutely loving, adoring, caring, one of the best partners you could have. A simp, of course, has no friends. That is because they unfortunately lose their friends every time they get into some form of relationship when their object of their simpness ends up, panning out. And even if it doesn't, right? If they're if they are simping for somebody for so long, their friends end up leaving them because they're being really terrible. And we'll touch upon that a little bit in the propaganda section, but that is something just to keep in mind. Of course, a simp is toxically attached. A simp is someone that has an idealized version of their object of affection, and is attached to that idea. They don't really want to learn who the actual person is, and I think that's pretty important, right? Because we want people to strive to be to meet the completely unrealistic expectations that are within our minds, and not see them as real human beings with flaws. Because if you see them with real human beings with flaws, then, you might start to have something like empathy, and we don't want that here. So with that, you can also just think about it this way. If you're a simp, it's going to be for life. It's just, it's a cycle. And, just like how when there are hot days, a lake will evaporate and turn into clouds, which will then migrate to a nearby town, and it will, tinkle upon the people, and then it will go back into the lake. That's all good. This is just cycle of nature, right? And the simp is very, very similar. It's the meeting, the sort of the welling of simpness inside of you, followed by the removal of all of your friends and the complete obsession, followed by the depressive episode when it doesn't work out, followed by some form of acting out. We don't encourage the acting out here, but what I will say is that it's just an unfortunate side effect, and there's nothing we can do about it. There's absolutely nothing. We can't teach them anything. We can't tell them anything about it. If you have a problem with sort of acting out afterwards, it's just going to be something that you're going to have to do. So, let's go ahead and discuss a little bit since we have some time. I've noticed. Yeah, the clock over there, it's a little wrong, right? It says that we're 5 minutes to end, but we're not actually 5 minutes to end. We're actually much further away from it. Yeah, I know you guys are all looking at that. So let's talk about this phrase I keep saying, the object of affection, right? I sort of touched on it a little bit earlier. I was mentioning about how an object of affection is just, it's the person, but a simp doesn't view them as a person, right? So I think that it's very, very interesting because the object of affection is incredibly important to a simp, right? A simp is just someone who is obsessed with this. So what are some categories that an object of affection can be, right? That's something that you want to know because, like we said before, a simp has no friends and a simp is very loving, but also, it's going to be a part of your final project, right? So you're going to have to figure this out as a group. So, and the object of affection can be anyone, right? It can be anyone, living or dead, real or imaginary. Think of the craziest anime character that you've seen with the most unrealistic chest region that you've ever witnessed. Someone's simping for that imaginary person that is a choice. That is, it can truly be anyone. And, think about it this way. You can simp for a fan fiction character. You can simp for, movie characters, TV show characters. And oftentimes, fan fiction and, fan works are an object or an expression of simpness. And it's just something that you don't really think about, right? Simpness is all encompassing and simpness is just a part of everyday life. So with that, we have the next trait of the object of affection, which is they are not into you. And this goes hand in hand with the imaginary, with the, that's why it's so popular to have an imaginary or not real or dead object of affection, is because they're not into you, right? They can't be into you. It's impossible because they're not real. And I think that's pretty important that they're not into you because that feeds the desire to simp, right? Once you get into a relationship with somebody, say that you're one of the lucky simps, right? You're a simp, you find someone who is real, at an appropriate age to you, you pursue it respectfully, and turns out that they share similar feelings. Maybe your object of affection is a simp for you too. Oh my God, crazy. Then it becomes a situation where suddenly you are equals. The power dynamic is not fluctuating. Now it's fixed. Now you both are on equal footing, and you're going to start getting into spats. You're going to get into fights. You're going to start demanding for respect. And one thing a simp never has is self-respect. So write that down. It's really important. So, next thing for the object of affection is they are, of course, better than you. Now, this is a metaphorical better than you. What I mean is we don't want the, your object of affection needs to be perceived to be better than you by the simp. Someone who is simping has very little self-respect, very little self-confidence. When they look towards the object of affection, they view them as otherworldly. They view them as higher, and you don't want to make the mistake of, putting yourself above them. So, and lastly, just the object of affection, doesn't matter what, it's always worth it. That's just one of the traits, is that it's always worth it. Okay, so next, let's just talk about some of the propaganda that's going around. I feel like part of why I really was advocating for this course is because I think that there's been a lot of heinous things that have been said about simps, online and in person. It's really, it really reminds me of, like racism is a very big problem. And, I'm a very big advocate against racism. And therefore you should be careful about what you say about simps, because it's getting a little dicey there. Yeah, totally. If you are rude to a simp, it's akin to being racist, right? And that's just a no-no. Yeah, absolutely. So let's just go ahead. So some things that I've heard: simps are terrible people. That might be true, but it's really terrible for you to say that, right? Maybe you're a terrible person for mentioning it. So simps are not reliable. Like I said before, they have no friends, right? Because they lose their friends every time they find a new object of affection and whatnot. Again, true. But just because they're not reliable doesn't necessarily mean that you have to call that out, right? A simp that's not reliable is like saying that a bird that can fly. It's not a trait that you want to make note of. What's that? Yes, McCleley? Oh, you're saying that people make note that birds fly all the time? No. See, birds flying it's just a part of nature, right? It's something, no one pays attention to the fact that birds fly. No, absolutely not. And we definitely haven't studied that extensively in any capacity. And I advocate for the same thing. We don't have to study the unreliableness of a simp. Okay, and then the next piece of propaganda, of course, is simps are cringe. Unfortunately, that one I think is not really propaganda. I wanted to put something in here that was completely true and is not propaganda, right? Simps are cringe. It's just something that we have to keep in mind, right? And none of you would be here if you didn't know that as a fact already. So, some simps can sometimes be a little bit too in their feelings about it, and so I'm just here to tell you, embrace it, right? You kill the cringe in your head, right? Just mentioning that. So next, we're just going to talk about some hobbies. This is a fun little thing, for the end of the class. Just mentioning some hobbies that simps tend to be into, right? So of course, the first thing that they would be into is their object of affections hobbies. Whatever your object of affections hobbies are, that's your hobbies. Unless, of course, your object of affection is a hobby. As in, if they're an anime character, you're really into anime, right? Because your hobby is anime, because your object of affection is anime. But if, say, your object of affection has hobbies that you are not into, or you are not, as a simp, you cannot get into, like either physically or mentally, video games are a very good choice. You have to go with the really problematic video games, the video games that are, complete propaganda for the U.S. military. Those are going to be one of your top ones. Then, of course, you want to do raging. Raging is going to be a very big hobby for a simp. And then the last one, of course, League of Legends. I think this is one very important because, yeah, I see it all around. League of Legends is very popular among the simps. I think it is going to be... if nothing else, if you, with your final project, you want to discuss things over a League of Legends game, I support it. And that will be it for the class. Does anybody have any final questions? No? Okay. Grimplesnore, do you have a question? No, you don't? Okay. All right, well, if that's the case, then I will go ahead and I will, of course, send the syllabus out to everybody. Please read it, and please do not have any questions for me because I will not answer them through email, okay? Okay, well, you have a great day and keep on simping, okay? Bye-bye.